What's going on? It's Trending Story. If it's your first time here and you want to find out new facts that will definitely make you smarter and more well informed, make sure to subscribe and active the notifications bell so you don't miss anything.
An amazing story about how the salvation of a little wolf cub turned into salvation for the man himself. I love nature so much, and I enjoy being around, so every weekend I used to go to my father in the village to check on him and spend my time there wandering around the forest and fishing from the river. And since the distance is not far between my house, which is in the city, and the village where my father lives, I used to take my wife with me there sometimes. My wife and I have brought new furniture to my father's country house, and it's very comfortable, especially in the winter when the cold is freezing and snowing everywhere. My father was very happy when my wife and I went to visit him because he feels lonely. The village where my father's country house is located is very beautiful and is surrounded by mountains on all sides. And the large forest that covers most of the mountains was very large and contained many wild animals. My wife and I would go out and get on the bus and go to the forest so that we could wander there, collecting fruits and mushrooms, and sometimes going to the river and fishing there by the hook. Although we hear of dangerous animals in that forest, my wife and I have never found anyone there except for squirrels, birds, and some other small animals. One day my wife and I got on the bus to go to the woods, and on the way I met a 45-year-old man, where we kept talking to each other, and suddenly the man felt a pain in his heart, and he kept holding him and was breathing with difficulty. Then I approached to help him, and I asked a driver of the bus that has to stop. When the bus stopped, she helped the man get off, and his wife got off while the bus continued on. The wife took medicine from her bag for her husband, and when the man drank it, his condition began to improve until he was able to breathe. We kept talking there while waiting for another bus to come. Then the man told me that what happened at that moment reminded him of an accident that happened with him and his father when he was young, and then he started talking. I live with my father, mother, and brothers in the village next door to this village, and my father used to work as a forest guard. Everyone would testify to my father that he was a compassionate keeper and loved animals so much that he put his life in danger several times when facing illegal poachers, and he'd saved many wild animals that he found in need. My father knew very well the places that contained mushrooms and fruits, so we would go with him to the woods, fill the baskets, and return home. Everyone wanted to go to the woods with my father, even the neighbors' children. One day my father and my little brother went to the woods, and while we were wandering and enjoying the beauty of nature there, we heard a strange sound coming from behind the trees. Then my father asked us to stop immediately, and he told us that the next animal was a wolf. Then he took out his rifle and stayed waiting. It turned out that the animal was indeed a wolf, but it was limping while blood flowed its head. My father told us that the poor animal had fallen into a trap set by hunters, and that he was likely to get rid of it with difficulty. My brother and I were frightened when the little wolf approached us, while my father was calm and put the gun back on his back, and then came up from the animal and began to examine it. The father realized that the poor animal was in desperate need of help and that he had to be saved, so he took off its coat and wrapped the little animal in it, and then returned to the village. My father did not want the villagers to see him carrying the wolf, as he covered it well until he reached the house and left it there and treated. My father treated the wolf's wound and bandaged it, then tied his wounded leg and asked us to let him rest because he was tired. The next day my father brought a bucket of milk and gave it to the wolf, then bought him some sausage from the shop for the wolf. The little animal was eating greedily. It seemed the little wolf got stuck in the trap for a long time and had not eaten for a long time, which made it suffer a lot. As the days passed, the little wolf began to recover, and my little brother and I began to feel reassured near him, as we caressed him and took care of him just as my father did. And we also offered him food when my father was absent from the house. The little wolf knew that my father had saved his life from certain death, and that's why he obeyed him and was very happy when he saw him. He also becomes active and cheerful when my father caresses him, because he feels safe with him and considers him like his father. My father did not want the wolf to stay with us, as he decided to find his mother and return it to her as soon as possible. My father was aware that the mother of the wolf was sad and must be looking for him everywhere. And he also knew that the little animal wanted to be with its mother soon. My father used to take the wolf with him, which began to grow up. When he went out to the woods, perhaps his mother would see him and come take it. But this was not successful. My father had to keep the little wolf until he was old enough to get food on his own. At that time, my brother and I had the opportunity, and we started to take the little animal with us to the forest to play there, and we were making sure that no one saw us. We used to spend a good time with him, and we feel safe when we're with him because he's an honest and loyal guard. He became a home dog to us, which is why we never thought about bringing a dog home. At the end of school, my brother and I went to visit my aunt in the capital, where we spent 15 days there. And upon our return, we did not find my father and the wolf in the house. It was not normal. My father knew when we would return, and he was supposed to welcome us. We thought that Dad might have forgotten when we would be back, and my brother and I decided to go out and look for him in the woods. But before that, my mom brought us some food, put it in my backpack, and told us to take it to Dad because he might be hungry. I went out quickly with my brother to the woods, and I took the same road that my father used to take when we went to the forest, and suddenly I heard the sound of wolves' howls coming from afar. Then I felt panic and thought that the wolves might have attacked my father and devoured him. I ran to that place, and on the way a wolf came out from among the trees. My brother and I were very afraid, but we quickly regained our calm when we realized that this wolf was the same that was living with us. The wolf was tensed and howling, then started walking forward. I realized that he wanted to tell me something but couldn't do it, so I decided to catch up with him. After I walked behind the animal about 300 meters, I saw my father lying on the ground. Well, the wolf approached him and kept howling. When I approached my father, I found him breathing with difficulty. And when he said he had suffered a heart attack while he was wandering in the woods, and that the wolf was the only one who saved his life, because he kept caressing him with his tongue on his face, and the time was pressuring his heart so that he would not lose consciousness. My brother and I carried my father and took him to the hospital, and there the doctors treated him. The wolf returned the favor to my father in a way no one expected, and saved his life from certain death. When the man finished telling his story, he told us that the animals do not forget the person who offered help to them and return the favor to them when given the opportunity. It was a touching story, which made me and my wife excited to meet the animals in the forest we were going to. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks. We'll be right back to you as fast as we can.